Oh, good afternoon, Gossip Talk Show's family. It's Numsa here at Gossip Talk Show's Find Your Own Voice Lead from Within. So with me today, I'm with Shireen Lovegrove. How are you, Shireen?
I'm good, Nomsa. And you? How are you keeping?
I'm good, thank you. It's been the weather is not so good out there.
Well, I'm very grateful because I drove back from the lakes yesterday at Lake District in Cumbria, and it was raining. I mean, seriously, heavy, heavy rain. I could only see about 50 meters in front of us all the time.
Really?
Certainly most of the journey until we got sort of closer to London, and then the weather just transformed, and it was so different. So yeah, it was certainly interesting. So very grateful, even though this weather is a bit gloomy, it looks okay. Thank
What
goodness.
time did you guys get back?
We got back sort of 5, 6 o'clock last night.
Oh, okay.
So it was quite a long journey. It was 5.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
Mm. Especially if it's not an easy drive, right? Thank goodness
Yeah.
there wasn't too much traffic, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, mostly when it's raining and traffic, then you have to be careful. What does my video keep doing?
It's jumping a lot.
I don't know what it's doing, guys. We're gonna have to jump. I'm just gonna have to ignore this video. We're gonna have to jump with the video.
It
As long
normally
as I
is
have this.
when, yeah, it normally is if you've got bad weather, often the signal goes a bit strange,
Yeah,
and that might be what it is. And it may show up actually okay when we look at the live later on.
yeah. So the topic today is self-awareness and clarity in intimacy relationship. And intimacy relationship is not about closeness to another person. It is about closeness to yourself too. Many relationships fail not because love is absent, but because the self-awareness and clarity are missing. So when you do not understand your own needs, wounds, boundaries, and values, intimacy becomes confusing, draining, and often painful. You may love deeply yet feel lost. So you may give fully yet feel unseen. You may stay even when your soul is quietly shrinking. What do you think about the topic, Shireen?
Oh, it's a really interesting topic, and I love what you're saying there, that there's a difference between intimacy and what we automatically think about it, right? So when we think of intimate relationships, often we think of it as a sexual relationship. But in actual fact, an intimate relationship is a close relationship. And it got me thinking about the idea that when we have an intimate relationship, it's really about being very aware of our intimate relationships, right? For ourselves. How are we intimate with ourselves? What kind of relationship do we have with ourselves? And I guess that's the bit of the self-awareness, isn't it? How do we create a intimate relationship with ourselves and an intimate relationship um, with God, with our partner, with a child that we have, anyone that we have? What do we define as that intimate relationship? Without us becoming enmeshed in it, how do we have that relationship that honors boundaries, that allows us to expand within that context of that relationship and helps us feel safe at the same time? And at the same time, it's a springboard that helps us move forward in our life. So yeah, it's such an interesting topic, and yet so little is really taken on board by people. Very few of us, I think, really spend time to become truly intimate, to know who we are, what we want, what we like, how we like it, all of these kinds of things. I think these are really important questions that we need in a relationship, and that gives us the clarity the ability to see the wood from the trees, where our emotions aren't always going all over the show, and helps us then take accountability of ourself and accountability with how we manage and speak to others. Yeah, so that was what was going on for me while I was thinking about self-awareness and clarity in intimate relationships, and really, and more in the sense of the qualitative, more the qualitative aspect of the intimacy. So how is it different from what people will do as a tick box, and how does it feel? How does it feel to have an intimate relationship with yourself? How does it feel to have an intimate relationship with someone else? That was what I was sort of leaning more into, that qualitative aspect rather than a quantitative aspect.
I love what you just said, Sharon, because what you just said, you are asking us to actually return ourselves to like learning to how to love one another. I think that is really, really important, and really being honest about how do we understand about intimacy relationship. Um, I think it's just all about emotional maturity
Mm.
and being honest in communication as well. And even for us, when we communicate with ourselves, um, honestly, we build that intimacy that is rooted in truth rather than fear. Because
Mhm.
when you have clarity it just it can lead to peace within the relationships within ourselves, or
Mm.
who we are becoming in that relationship, the foundation of a healthy lasting relationship. So you are that's really good. Asking us to go deep and really ask ourselves, how do we understand? Because I think when you hear like intimacy, you think about like a relationship with spouse, and also you mentioned the relationship intimacy with God as well, because that's really, really important to have a good relationship with God, a really close relationship, and then so we can understand ourselves as well, who we are, and just build a good foundation. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, yes, that was yeah, the intimate aspect is really the key bit. And I think that when I was talking about the qualitative and the quantitative aspect, but so many of us live so much up here, right? We live so much in our head, and especially in relationships. And I know that happens for you a lot, particularly with matchmaking, for example. A lot of matchmakers now, or a lot of people, they want to have people that have earned the same amount of money as them, or on the same level, right? So it becomes a very mental kind of thing, right? And so they're not really paying attention to what really needs to happen for them to be happy, truly happy. And I think that's something that's so key when in your job, of teaching people to start to really begin to lean into that feeling. How do we create this intimate relationship with ourselves so that we can form an intimate relationship with someone else? Even if that someone else isn't earning the same amount of money as us, right? How do we form intimate relationships is really important. How do we know ourselves? How do we feel? And part of that intimate relationship is really about feeling. It's really about knowing what are our triggers, what are not our triggers, right? It's about having a relationship with our body so that we can use our body as the medium through which we get information. That gives us the clarity. So, how many of us have had a feeling where we said, I should have listened to my gut, right? I should have. I knew that that was there and I didn't listen to my gut. Why didn't we listen to our gut? We didn't listen to our gut because our head got in the way. We didn't take time to listen to what our gut was trying to tell us. And we discounted our gut. And this is often what happens when we are very much in this thinking world all the time, when we're looking out and we're constantly trying to evaluate on an outside perspective instead of using it as an inside perspective. We talk about a relationship, an intimate relationship with God. Well, nobody can see God, right? But we can feel God. So therefore, it means that that to really know God, we have to feel. We have to feel it. We can go and understand the story of Jesus' life. We can understand the commandments, but for us to follow them, we have to feel them. And so part of the intimacy, I think, is really learning how do we follow our feelings? How do we follow them in a way that leads us to a deeper truth, that leads us to that clarity that we're trying to find? So when we have a feeling that feels a bit iffy or whatever, just stay with it. Don't try and run away with it. Don't try and run away from it. Stay with the feeling and go, where's this feeling coming from? How come I've got this feeling? Is it a bad feeling? Is it a good feeling? What kind of feeling is that feeling? So we can begin to develop an intimate relationship with ourselves, because that gives us the safety with which to then be able to be open to receive from someone else or to give to someone else. When we've got to be safe in our body, if we don't feel safe in our body, then it doesn't matter whether we're in a relationship with anybody else. We're never, ever going to have a good, intimate relationship with them because we won't trust them. And trust is a feeling, it's not a thought. So clarity comes from understanding, okay, I have this feeling, this, and this connects to this feeling. That's where the meaning of the feeling starts to take place. So I think it's so very important that when we start to talk about self-awareness, we really begin to start with that key space of really honoring our feelings, really kind of trying to find out what do those feelings mean? What's the meaning making we give to our feelings? And then we can use that as the way forward to kind of know, oh, well, when I have that feeling, it could be about this, it could be about this, but we don't just act on it. We don't use it as a trigger. We use it as a guide with which to, as a guide or a map, a roadmap to the deeper truth, to the truth of where we need to go next. And certainly for me as a pregnancy coach, this is really important. It's very important because many of the women that I have in my are busy professionals that live all the time in their head, and they don't have a really strong relationship with their body. And if they do, it's when they're going pumping iron at the gym, for example, right? So then they feel a different kind of stretch and whatever, but they don't feel the softness of their body. They don't hear their body actually talk to them. We have to learn how to talk, let our body speak to us so that we can develop that intimate relationship with our body so we can trust our body. And then likewise, we extend the field and we learn to trust people. It's really funny just seeing you change on the screen all the
What
time.
is
All
my
I'm
video
seeing is all the
doing?
time. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but I'm
I
seeing
don't know. He keeps jumping. I don't know what he's doing.
I can tell you if you imagine seeing yourself as a mirror, one of these mirrors with all the warpy things, when you go to the fairgrounds and you see these mirrors that have kind of got concave and convex and you look so different in them. This is what's happening constantly here
I
on
know.
the
Let me
screen
put
for
you
me.
as a host and then I come out and see whether I come back the same.
All right.
Uh, yeah, you are the host now, right?
All right, you can go out. Even if you did go out, you wouldn't cancel me out, I don't think.
Yeah, let me go out and then I come back.
Right, so we've got a little few technical issues that are going on right now. So Nomsa is just going to come back in a minute. So yes, that's the most important thing, and that's the thing that I've really been focusing on recently, which was really about the self-awareness, the different categories of self-awareness, and how we can use our own self-awareness to be able to understand another human being. Many of us don't realize that we carry a mental map. There's Nomsa coming back in. Let's see. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Am
You
I
there?
still jumping?
Uh, Not at the minute. You seem to be all right. The screen is going back and forward a little bit, but you seem to be okay.
I don't know why I keep jumping and jumping and jumping. So yeah, I like what you were saying, Shireen, that so many of us live in our head. I think I used to be one of those people who are living in their head. But now, since I've started cleansing and stuff, I look back and I look people when they make a decision. I'm like, did I used to do this? I can actually see the difference that I'm at work. I'm actually staying focused with whatever I'm doing. I'm staying focused, and sometimes like when you say we don't listen to our bodies and stuff, I think it's important to listen to your voice within when your guts, like Sharina was saying, because sometimes you may say, "Oh, I don't want to." I've heard the laws of pastors. They say we want to hear the voice of God. The minute God says things that we don't want to hear, we like, no, that's not God, because we want God to say something that that we want.
We
The
want God to
minute,
confirm what we're thinking, not the other way
yes,
around, right?
yeah. So he's saying, if God says something, uh-uh, that's not him. That is a demon. And now we start dismissing him until God gets angry now and say, it is me that is speaking. And then he is just to end up doing something, because God can get angry, like if you ignore his voice. So,
Mm,
but sometimes we ignore our gods as well, because God speaks. The Holy Spirit is within us. So when that voice speaks within us and say, do this, maybe you want to do something, it says, do this or do that or have a rest. We don't really want to listen. We are always on the go. I think like what you just said, Shireen, it shows the importance of silence,
mm.
having time out, maybe
Yeah,
1 hour every like 30 minutes, or just having that retreat of silence and not being on the go, busy life. Because when you're a professional, you're always on the schedule.
yeah,
When you're on the schedule, you feel like you have to complete every task. But now we have AI. Things are so much easy. You can do the work that, like the paperwork. Sometimes I ask ChatGPT to help me with paperwork. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. Sometimes we argue and things like that. And you find that the time, like you spend like hours, is reduced to 30 minutes. So I'm sure you can still have that time where you have your silent time, because I think that is important to have, to honor your feelings, like you said, Shireen, and truly, truly understand what does this voice tells you? What does
mm,
your body tells you? the connection of these feelings and things like that. Because like most, like I said, most relationship they break because we don't really listen to
Mm.
everything we do has a voice. The relationship has a voice.
Yeah.
The clothes that we wear have a voice, everything. But we don't intend to listen to those voices. We just ignore.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because we get taught that if we hear these things that they are part of the fantasy world, they're not real, right? So we're a little bit going mad. But in actual fact, we don't realize that we hear many voices all the time. And a lot of those voices are voices that, as you say, your clothes have a voice, your inner soul has a voice. The secret is knowing whose voice and what voice it is, right? And you can only do that by having an intimate relationship with it. So, for example, one of the things that I do a lot of is conflict resolution. So, in conflict resolution, generally, there are parts within us that want one thing and a part that wants another. This is kind of like what goes on when you say, "Hey, I'm expecting God to give me this answer, and I don't get it." Right? So that it's kind of like that part that God is there as a part and is there and has something different. So you now got to find a way to come to a resolution, right? We've got to come to a way that you are both, well, not necessarily God, but you get to the agreements that will allow you to be able to feel at peace. So it may be that you might have to say, look, God, I can't do this today, but hey, can I do it tomorrow? You may have to come with some kind of, I just being really open and honest. This is unmanageable right now for me, but I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and recognizing that God is not going to say, no, you can't do it. It's God's going to say, okay, that sounds like you're doing a really good idea, thinking this through. Right. Okay. So, and that gives you a sense of peace. But we have lots of conflicts in our life. And what we've got to do with conflict is find a way that each of these parts work together so that we can begin to find that road of peace. But it does require an intimate relationship with understanding, taking time to understand what do these parts want, right? So what do the clothes want? What does your hair want? It's really interesting. You can sit there and feel your hair and say, tell me, what is it that you're wanting? You're feeling a little bit dry. You can sit there, have a whole lot of sensory information. And in general, what will happen, even though you may not be truly aware of it, your your hair will start to take on a personality and it will start to talk to you. It'll start to give you information. Now I know that it isn't actually talking to you, right? I think when you're actually hearing it as a sense of you expect other people to hear, then that's maybe a little bit of the realm of maybe not being in reality. But all of us have inner voices. And so it's really important that we get to know them, we listen to them. And those that maybe need a little bit of updating, we need to update them, right? We need to say, hey, that was an old me. This is not the new me, for example. So I think it's really important to have that intimate relationship with yourself. But also when we're in a relationship with someone else and they're causing triggers, right? We need to be able to know what that trigger is. What is it that this person is doing that's causing me to react right now? What is it that meaning making that I'm making of this conversation? Because we have to make a lot of decisions that come from something like that. We have to think truly about what is going on, go and take a little bit of time and then correct it, then update that information. If we don't do that, we won't have a good relationship. So we have to have a deeper understanding of our own feelings, of our own thoughts, of our own process. I mean, I do remember in the early stages of my partner, certainly there was all sorts of stuff. Anyone who's read my book will know that I carried so much conditioning with regards to um, believing that if you get married, then that basically you shouldn't work. There were all sorts of things that were going on, or you should always be there for your spouse and come second, right? And there were all sorts of things that were like that. Your career is not as important as somebody else's. And that was a really interesting thing. And it was so funny in the first earlier part of our relationship, I didn't realize I was carrying that. I didn't realize that actually this was such a deep belief that was there that I had learned when I was very young. And it was a generational thing, not just me, it was generational. And yes, there are certain cultures that still carry those beliefs. But what was really important was when I felt it, I was able to go back to my partner and say, you know what? I know this is what it is, and I know that's not what you believe. And so, therefore, what I need to do is work with this feeling and be very tender with it so that I can work through it. I can work through this feeling so that I no longer hold it in the same way. And how do I help somebody else with that, right? How do I give other people advice that's going to be different from what my old belief was? So that allowed me to have insight into myself, but an insight to a collective self, right? We're all, God says, love one another as I love you, means we're all actually children of God. So therefore, guess what? Whatever I learn, I need to teach it. I need to be able to share it. I need to be able to see it in someone else and name it so that I can help them raise to the same level, right? I think that's part of our job here. Um, so part of being very self-aware gives us the ability to develop a very deep empathy, gives us the ability to be able to see when and name when someone else is suffering with the same pain, for example, right? So that we can hold them and be tender to them and allow them to be able to resolve the issue. So self-awareness can expand into so many things.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Shireen, is really, really important. The self-awareness is, I think, is the critical component of how a relationship is able to move forward.
Mm,
Because for you, you were able to realize these conditionings, these conditionings that they are okay, this is how I have carried them from generation to generation and they're now been transferred to me. But I'm entering this relationship and I have this self awareness. And there's this inner voice that is saying this conditioning, I need to deal with them. And you were able to actually recognize them. It's not actually easy for a human being to look at themselves and say, let me make some changes in my life. And
mm,
you were able to communicate with your spouse as well so that he understands the pain you're going through so he can support you through that pain. Or you may find that, I don't know whether he was honest, you may find that there were some things that he himself he was conditioned in
mm,
that relationship. I don't know if he was able to share it with you or he was like, okay, you know what, I hear you, I support you. So either way, but you were able to deal with them and write a book, and I think that is really, really, really amazing when you have that self-awareness and listening to your inner voice as well, and understanding that, you know what, for my relationship, for this relationship to work, I need to make some changes. I need to deal with, for me, it was dealing with the wounds of my parents'
mm,
divorce. Um, my parents divorced when I was 8 months, and when I was 8 months, I think because the Bible says like how God judges us based on our blood, our the water that is within us and our spirit. I didn't know anything about the divorce. I was young, but my subconscious mind, because a child inherited their mother's spirit, and then the father is the blood. So for me, it was like I think I had some questions that I needed my parents to answer, but because I could not ask those questions, it was affecting my
Mm.
relationship. And growing up with my parents as well, there were these conditions in my family that my family never told me off. But there was one thing they never did. They never let me get away with anything. But they would not tell me off. They would not raise their voice.
Mm.
Um, I don't know what are they, but they were like behaving like psychologists. They will sit down with me and explain if I'm wrong, and they will let me know the consequences. There was never, if you do this, I'll take that away from you. They were like sitting me down and the consequences. And Shireen, the most painful thing is when someone does not raise a voice.
Yeah.
When you and when you go out and you try to do something and they're not shouting at you, they are loving you, giving you unconditional love, and when you want to do something wrong, you hear their voice and you can't do anything. I see parents shouting at their children. I'm like, that's wasting time.
Mm.
Try to love them more and explain to them like my parents did. For me, in the end, I just decided to hang out with them. I was like, I've had enough of this because I can't be naughty. So that affected me when I entered the relationship. You tell me off or you get angry with me. I get confused. I was like, why does this human being get angry with me?
Mm.
Why are they blaming me? No, nobody speaks to me like that. You don't
Mm.
blame me. You tell me if I've done something wrong. Then I will understand. But then it was when I went to a therapist, and then she made me understand that the people are different. They're dealing with things different. For me, I was conditioning that don't tell me off. I wasn't a spoiled child, but you don't tell me off because I'm a human being. So if
Mm.
you tell me off me, I get confused. That's not love. When you tell me off, that's not love. When you get grumpy with me, that's not love. Because I've never ever seen my dad get angry. I've never seen my mom get angry. And so I got confused. So that affected me when I entered the relationships. It was like now I had to start learning different personalities, different people, how people do. It's like when I went into like I moved in with my mom, like my stepdad was the same as well. And then that made it worse. When I entered the relationship, it was like, my parents don't do all this. What kind of a parent are you? What kind of a human being are you?
Mm.
And then until I started understanding self-awareness, okay, if this is my personality, that means the other person has their own. So I need to figure out
Mm.
their own needs, their own want, and things like that. But it just took me a long time.
Mm.
But now that I'm cleansing now and looking after myself, now I'm looking back and just watching people like when someone is just being horrible to someone, I'm like, think this is what I used to do before I did this, the
Mm.
behavior that I used to do. And like, but it could be simple though. We could live a simple life. So I think it does like what you're saying, Shireen, the voice, and mostly I think the voice of God. Hearing the voice of God is really, really important, and hearing our inner voice as
Mm.
well. is really, really important because it will guide us through to where we need
Mm.
to go. Now now that I'm self-aware, I see my children pushing it, like trying it, and I'm like, she just did that. She expects me to fight back, and I'm like, I'm not doing
Mm.
that. I'm not doing that. It's just amazing, Shireen, how
Mm.
it's just amazing how we if we're not aware of the things that we're doing. But I like your story. I think you should wait. Do you have your book on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
You should put a link on you should put the link. You should send me the link so I can put the link. I can
Sure.
get a copy for myself as well.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Put a link, yeah, when I'm sharing the things, because I think the book link is, and also I might have it on my Instagram as well. I think the book link is more acceptable than the website links when you're doing live.
right,
So,
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I can give you I'll give you the link to straight to Amazon.
Oh, yeah, and
It's
send it to
there.
me. I'll put it on my Instagram as well so people can click it and just buy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so yeah, that makes life easy for you and for other people because I see that sometimes when you put a link people might not click it at that moment, but when they go back to watch
Mm.
the video might say, oh, there's a link here, and then go and buy your because your conditioning there. I think they are the ones that destroys the relationship, and
Yeah.
mostly when they are from generation to generation. That's what Dr. Olukoya teaches, how things can. The generational things can affect our present moment if we don't deal with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's really important because you grow up in it, right? You
yeah,
grow up in that conditioning, so you won't, and your parents are conditioned in that way, so they don't know any different, and so you don't get to know any different. And I think that's always been the case. I think it's really important is not to hold blame for it because when it happens, most people aren't aware that they've been conditioned that way, right? We just we just kind of get told, hey, that's not okay, and we don't understand because we've grown up with it, and we just get very defensive, and yeah, we want to hold on tight to something that we own because we've owned it for so long in a strange way. But maybe it's a different truth that we've got to understand, right?
yeah,
I mean, these are, I suppose one of the biggest truths was Jesus came in and said, no, God's not a willful God. God is not a God that's a cruel God, right? My Father is a loving Father,
yeah.
right? So all of a sudden, a lot of what was in the eye for an eye, let's be vengeful, let me do all those things, which is what was written a lot in the Old Testament, was totally sort of, that's not the way, right? The way is this way. And what's really interesting is it has taken, we how many times do we kind of think, oh, we've got to be an eye for an eye, right? You hear it all the time, but that's such an old story, right? It's based in an old teaching. It's not the new teaching, and so it became so part of what you were doing when you started to realize, and I guess me too, was when you start to realize that, hey, oh, people are different. People do things differently. I'm different. That's what I
Yeah.
used to do. What a wonderful moment of self-realization and validation when we realize, hey, that's what I used to do. This is what I do now, right? This is who I am now. I'm growing. I'm becoming more of who I am rather than who I was conditioned to be. And and I do believe all relationships, most relationships, are caused through the conditioning, right? Through intergenerational conditioning that's happened. and they're based on expectations of what humans have to do in order to stay within that clan, to stay within those social structures, right? And it's very scary to be able to move outside those social structures very often because we have this deeper sense of belonging. We want to belong. We want to be important to someone. We want to, because there's a really deep, deep, deep self-survival strategy to belong, right? And so it takes a lot of courage to be able to say, no, I don't believe that, right? This is what I believe. Even to my own parents, I used to have to say, no, what you're saying is wrong. That's not right, right? You may believe it, but that's not how I see the world, which is often because we've had other experiences that don't match what our parents' experiences, like your partner, or others when they kind of didn't, they used to shout and scream at you and you couldn't understand because you were told, you sat down and you were told why you had done it wrong, where you were going wrong, what was all that about? But it was done in love, right?
Yeah,
It was done in love. So you couldn't, it was such a mismatch to experience what someone else was seeing as love was not love, right?
yeah. And I think it's really, really important for us, and also, like you said, to honor ourselves. We work really hard with professionals, but at the same time, we need to have this time where we have to relax and
Mm,
reconnect with ourselves. Because, like when you're busy, you get dragged down to this, you get dragged down to this. Like sometimes I get like a professional when they're trying to sell me something because I'm self-aware. And sometimes someone will call me and they're like selling me something and they're trying to convince me. So I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, you're trying to convince me something to do something that I don't really want to do, although I'm a business woman, but there are things that are not for me. So I want to go right now. So I'm like, and then you'll see someone truly, truly trying to convince you, and they're like, and then now my soul is disconnect because I'm not interested.
yeah,
But
yeah.
before, if I wasn't focused, I would just try to fit in with that thing because it says a success. So meaning is for everybody, but now I come to understand that not everything is for me. I need to listen to the voice of God. God, is this for me? Is your voice in it? Because if it's not, his voice is not in it, I'm going to struggle. So sometimes it can be a very tricky situation. Sharina, I gotta go. Are you staying?
Oh no, I will go too because I know you said you had to go for about 15 minutes before. So
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow
Yeah, see you tomorrow, guys.
and tell
Tomorrow
everybody we're going to meet.
we have a relaxing 1 hour with you guys. With it's a treat. I'm not gonna spoil it.
All right. Okay. Just that all of us are going to be there, or most
Yes,
of us are going to be there.
yeah. It's a treat. It's a Christmas special. Ngozi Talk Show's Christmas special.
Good.
With, yeah, with all Ngozi Talk Shows speakers, coaches, all going to be here together playing.
It'll be nice to see everyone.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm
Okay.
gonna have to go,
All right.
guys.
Bye bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Hold on, Shireen. I gotta say goodbye. I gotta say goodbye properly. What am I doing here?
Don't know.
Oh, it's not allowing me to stop the show.
Oh, I'm on
Oh, it's
host.
you.
I'm the host. Oh my goodness
Yes, I was
me.
like,
I'm the
oh,
host. Shall
yeah,
I
it's
give it
telling me
back
to
to
stop
you?
the show.
I'll make you a host and you can I'll let you finish.